Mayor, you may begin.
Thank you. Good evening, Costa Mesa, and welcome to the Costa Mesa City Council regular meeting for our Financing Authority Board, the Public Financing Authority Board, the Costa Mesa Housing Authority, and our successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency meeting for January 19th, 2021. We'll now call the meeting to order, and tonight we have a special treat with regard to our national anthem and our Pledge of Allegiance. The city recently posted an open invitation for interested local vocalists and musicians who would like to be featured performing our national anthem and the beginning of our city council meetings. Tonight, we're excited to showcase our first guest vocalist, and we're proud to say she's one of our own. Madison Mangaya is a police records technician, and she's in our records bureau within the Costa Mesa Police Department. She's a graduate of Woodbridge High School in Irvine, where she was the varsity show choir captain in 2010 and 2011. She was a National School Chorale Award recipient in 2011, a Macy Award recipient in 2008 and 2010, and she was involved in multiple high school musicals and theater productions and has sung in churches for 15 years, including Rock Harbor Church right here in Costa Mesa. We thank Madison for sharing her talents with us tonight and for volunteering to sing the Star Spangled Banner for us. And we invite any local performers who would like to be included and perform our national anthem or be featured at our meetings to please contact Costa Mesa Television at cmtv@costamesaca.gov. G-O-V. With that, please stand as Madison Mangaya sings our national anthem, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Guerreros.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Councilmember Guerreros, can you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Madison. That was beautifully sung. Right here in our Costa Mesa Police Department records, we're going to find musical stars. That's wonderful. Okay, and we now have tonight for our moment of solemn expression will be led by Pastor Jordan Hansen from Newport Mesa Church. Ms. Green, can you please invite Pastor Hansen and unmute him?
Thank you for the opportunity to offer a prayer, and thank you to our council leaders for their service. Dear Father, I pray that you would help us tonight find more opportunities to serve the people of Costa Mesa, to promote peace, Lord, especially in this year, Lord, following 2020, with all of the division in the world that we live in and in the country that we live in. I just pray that Costa Mesa would be a place where people continue to love to live. And Father, we do say a special prayer for those who have been impacted by COVID-19, for those who have lost loved ones. We pray that you would help us to be good neighbors, to look out after those of the people that live in our community. And Lord, I just pray that each of us would do our part in making sure people don't slip through the cracks. God, it's not ultimately up to the government. It's ultimately up to each of us to be looking out for each other. And I pray that you would just make Costa Mesa a place where neighborhoods thrive because people care. And Father, I pray that there would just be a heart of servanthood in this city, following Jesus' example. We pray for this because we know that Costa Mesa would be a wonderful place to live if that were true. So help us make that reality. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Hanson. Okay, at this time, we'll have the roll call. Ms. Green?
Councilmember Chavez,
Present.
Councilmember Gameros,
Present.
Councilmember Harlan,
Present.
Councilmember Harper,
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar. Here. Foley.
Present. Okay, we have one present. Oh, I'm sorry. City Attorney, any report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There was no reportable action taken in closed session this evening.
Thank you. Okay, we have one presentation tonight. It's a tribute to remember and honor the lives lost due to COVID-19. Whereas on March 4th, 2020, the governor of the state of California proclaimed a state of emergency to exist in California as a result of, my apologies, battery's dying here. Start over. Whereas on March 4th, 2020, the governor of the state of California proclaimed a state of emergency to exist in California as a result of the threat of COVID-19. On February 26, 2020, the Orange County Board of Supervisors and the Department of Public Health declared a public health emergency in Orange County due to COVID-19. On March 12, 2020, the city manager of the city Costa Mesa did proclaim the existence of a local emergency ratified by the city council on March 13, 2020. And whereas as of January 19, 2021, there have been over 23.6 million cases of COVID-19 in the United States, with over 486,000 deaths. Nearly 3 million cases in California, with over 33,739 deaths. Over 210,000 cases in Orange County, with over 2,400 deaths. And in Costa Mesa, we've had more than 7,000 cases of COVID with 70 deaths. And whereas the outbreak of COVID-19 has impacted every community in the nation and in the world, and we share in grieving all those who have and continue to endure pain, illness, and death from the disease. And whereas it is vital to remember and honor the lives lost due to COVID-19 and unite our nation during a somber time in our country's history. And whereas the city of Costa Mesa has participated in a tribute to honor the victims of the COVID-19 pandemic by ringing bells across the city with the nation. Now therefore be it resolved that the flags of the city of Costa Mesa be flown at half staff at City Hall and upon all buildings and facilities until sunset on January 21st, 2021, as a mark of solemn respect for the victims of the COVID-19 pandemic. Dated this January 19th, 2021, Mayor Katrina Foley. I know there was a lot of programs across the country today to memorialize the victims of COVID. Did anyone of the other council members wanted to say any words tonight regarding this sad situation? Seeing no one. Okay, we will move to public comments. Public comments at this time will be related to items that are not on our agenda. If you'd like to speak, please use the raise hand option on your screen, or you can press *9 on your telephone. And when it's your turn to speak, press *6 and your telephone will be unmuted. If you would like city staff or council to contact you to follow up on any items, please email the city clerk your contact information at cityclerk@costamesaca.gov. Okay, Ms. Green, are there any attendees? Okay, it looks like we have two. Maxwell Smart. Maxwell?
Madam Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Madam Mayor, first of which, a healthy new year for everybody, and certainly all the council members as well, and those that may not be here listening. However, I have to bring to your attention, there is in fact a stay-at-home order in the state of California. You're familiar with that. I don't expect anybody to answer to this at this moment. A stay-at-home order, which may not be recognized as such, is in fact a law. When the governor enacts an edict, that becomes a law under state constitution. Your counsel would probably be better to answer to that. I'm a lawyer too.
We understand it's a law.
Right. Well, you do. Okay, good. Because your police department is not enforcing the law. Chief Glass, I've met with him. I've been in his office. And he has in fact decided to turn his back on the law. In other words, his police department, when they report to, let's say, for example, Mastro's, the $100 a plate steakhouse, his police department shows up and they educate those on what it is the stay-at-home order is. When in fact they should be doing something completely different. They should be citing people, right? It's a violation of state law at this point in time. So Mastro's is in fact spreading the virus, is a super spreader virus. So what you have is, you have Mastro's thumbing their nose at the law. And then across the street, Costa decides, hey, you know what? They're open, so I'm going to be open. And then you have Kempt, the barber shop next door, says, hey, you know what? I'm open too. So you have all these businesses that are open, spreading the virus in your city. Your city. That creates massive liability. Okay, first of which, when you have the chief of police turning his police into medical doctors. That's what he's done. Well, we're out there, we're not going to chain doors. We're not going to close businesses down, but you know what we're going to do?
Excuse me, your 3 minutes are up.
Adios.
Mr. Smart, thank you. After we finish the public comment, I'll have Ms. Barlow or Ms. Farrell-Harrison can respond during your comments. Ms. Ashendorf? Ms. Ashendorf? You can unmute yourself on your computer or press star.
Sure.
There we go.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. Today's headlines brought little comfort to many. High winds forced the closure of Disneyland's co-vaccine site. Yes, my name is Charlene Ashendorf. I address you tonight as a resident of Costa Mesa, concerned for our elderly, isolated seniors. While I am indeed a senior and a member of the PACS Commissioner liaison to the seniors, this ask tonight is for them. As a result of a recent article I wrote for the Chronicle, I have received many calls from senior center members whose lives are lived in isolation. Residents with no computers, Residents who live in housing where management companies have closed community rooms with the only access to the internet. They can't go outside. They can't socialize. They cannot Zoom. They don't have an adult child readily available to them to advocate on their behalf. They are relying on us. They are relying on you. In a conversation I had yesterday with one 97-year-old resident who called me, she asked, how can I make an appointment for the vaccine? I have no computer. I do not drive. My young friend who lives in the building is 20 years my junior, and she has no computer. So I called my doctor at Hoag, and she tells me, wait, we will have information to send you by mail. But how long should I wait at my age? If you have been trying to access Athena for the last 6 days like I have, you may only superficially understand the frustration of this Costa Mesa resident to which I refer. Believe me, if I could get an appointment for a vaccine, I would give mine up for this woman. I've tried unsuccessfully to access the COVID hotline. The number is always busy. In a communication I had today with the Senior Center social worker, whom we all love and appreciate, Sharu Moody, I learned that our city is working with the county health department to open sites to administer vaccines to Costa Mesa residents. I urge you to increase your efforts to do so. For those who are in most need of your help, not me, but those isolated seniors. It is our moral responsibility to get this vaccine to our elderly. Please do everything you can to make that simple wish of this one senior for a vaccine to come true. One without computers, without family, access to social media, or even a cell phone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ashendorf. Okay, phone number ending in 698.
Council members, this is Stephen Chan calling.
Good evening.
I'm kind of at a complete loss for words, but the first commenter regarding our municipal police staff turning their backs on the law. Well, school is starting again this week for some on our block, in our family, in fact. And this outfit, Ms. Breen, if you could get this thing queued up, this outfit coddled by the city staff is our neighbor. Ms. Green, please play that 55-second video. Watch the decibel graph on the bottom, y'all.
This thing was automatic. I heard when I stepped up there. It was like, oh, that's gross. You know, that's what he said. And I still like, oh, it's so itchy. I'm like, what the man?
Hello? Mr.
Hello,
Chan?
are we done?
Okay, Mr. Chan, go ahead.
For those of y'all wondering what's been censored by the city, it's just a dictionary of every expletive, including the N-word being sung out, and our hot mic is over 100 feet from these folks. Now, when I brought this up in early December, that was on Thanksgiving Day, by the way, this year recording. When I brought this up to City Council in December, y'all claimed 4 departments were working on this outfit that has 0 compliance costs. Ms. Green, please play that 15-second video. What you see here is a door opening that faces the residences in the morning, and this is what they do. They yell out, F you, and give us the finger. And that's also 75, 80 feet away. Y'all have turned your backs on us here. And it's even worse than that. I think y'all have shut us out. You know, Christina Shea was sued for social media blocking, cost the city of Irvine $125,000. That Lauren Boebert, Congresswoman from Colorado, carries a Glock into Congress. She's been sued for blocking her constituents on social media. Mayor Foley, you're blocking me on Twitter over criticism of this situation. What is going on here? You,
Thank you, Mr. Chan. Your
rep,
3 minutes are done.
Thank you. Ms. Lee, Ms. Barlow, when City Manager gives her report, if you can give us an update. Next speaker is call-in user 1.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment regarding the Steve Chan issue that he just spoke on. The city has had knowledge of this for over 2 years. That community is suffering. Imagine going home every day and not having the ability to sleep or use your home. You know, we say our home is our castle, but the city of Costa Mesa in this entire area has ignored these residents. I hope it's not because they're all minorities in this neighborhood. It would really break my heart to see Costa Mesa take that path. They've asked Mr. Chan to jump through hoops to put a 30-day log together. He did. They've asked him not to send messages via email except through an official Costa Mesa link. They're trying to cut off his access to the city council people without sending a general email. And if I were him, I'd be sending an email every 5 minutes. I've had my car out there and parked for short periods of time, and from the street, you can hear this clearly. I don't know why the noise monitors can't be installed and have a permanent record of what's going on. Mr. Chan has spent several thousands of dollars of his own money to put cameras and monitors so his family can just live in their house. This is their home, and the city is playing games with this neighborhood. It breaks my heart that they are so frustrated. The children are trying to go to school with these foul-mouthed workers saying these absolutely outrageous, vile comments that they're hearing. You bleep it out for the city, but they're hearing it for real every day. Please, for the sake of that neighborhood on Center, will you please help these neighbors? I ask you to put this aside and give it priority. Everyone, every department, they deserve this peace and quiet. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other hands raised in the attendee public comments, we'll close the public comment. We'll go to council member comments and reports. We're going to start with council member Chavez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, members of the public, for bringing up these important issues. Ironically, I was going to begin with both of them, so I'll just jump in the most recent one. Question to staff, and I'm hoping we can address this a bit down the line after we're done with council comments. I know we were planning to meet with the regional managers of Smart and Final. This is becoming a reoccurring event, and it should not take members of the public constantly bringing up. So if we've already done our due diligence with Smart and Final, we perhaps should look at other actions we could take, because quite frankly, this is not the first time they've been warned. And I feel at this point, the store may be just spiting our residents, and that is never the answer. So we want some clarity on that, and also perhaps some paths we can take if this does not become resolved for the next month, because this has been, quite frankly, a recurring issue that's not been recurring. In regards to the seniors, I have so much empathy for them with the Athena app just collapsing on the county's part. You know, this is what happens when we don't have good leadership in the county, and this is what happens when we kind of don't be proactive as we are in Costa Mesa at times and just do things as they come along. And the county app has quite frankly failed our residents in Costa Mesa and in our senior center. So one thing I want to suggest, and I want to get some motion if someone wants to support me in this, but I think as a city of Costa Mesa, we should do some program to outreach for our seniors to make sure that they're getting the most accurate information possible. Maybe through doing a text program where we give them updates, maybe like a bi-weekly phone call where we let them know what's going on, because quite frankly, I cannot trust the county to be being on COVID. So it falls on us in the city to ensure our residents' safety. So I want to see something like that come up in the next meeting, next 2 meetings, but we have to take care of our seniors. And with that said, I do want to take a bit of time to talk about something that happened since last council meeting, which was the attacks in the U.S. Capitol. You know, one of the things that's always important to remember about Americans is that unless you're a Native American, at some point in your life, someone in your ancestry was an immigrant to this country. And a lot of times our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our ancestors, they came to America for a very simple reason. They wanted to have a safe place to live, a place of rules, right? They wanted to be somewhere where they didn't have to fear persecution for religion or fear political persecution because of, maybe a different party in their home country. We come to this country because it's democracy with rules. We come to this country because we know at the end of the day, the people rule through vote. And tomorrow, as we inaugurate a new president, there are some of us who are going to be upset and some who are going to be happy. And I guarantee you, 4 years ago, the people who are happy today probably weren't happy, and vice versa. But the thing that makes our country beautiful is that we're a country of laws and a country of orders, and that we ultimately respect the will of the people. So I know there's a lot of fervor, a lot of fear about where a country can become, a lot of rise of white nationalism, a lot of fear of our democracy being attacked from within. But the beautiful thing about this country is that we are a melting pot. Is that we all come from different parts and facets of the world, and we slowly and surely become American because we're in this country we know dearly and love. And as we face these difficult questions of what our nation is going to go, these difficult questions of how we're going to move forward, there really is one simple thing I think all of us can do ourselves, which is this. When someone who is not in your party or who does not align with you politically speaks, and you catch yourself saying, yo, F them, they're wrong, or saying, oh, they hate America, maybe take a step back and say, we're all in this country together. And maybe I should stop assuming that someone who doesn't share my complete beliefs hates this country. And maybe we just have different ideas and opinions how to move forward. Because if you want to address the issue of how do we fix this country and make it better going forward, quite frankly, it begins at home. It begins with ourselves. Making sure that we're giving our fellow Americans the benefit of the doubt. And ensuring that we're doing our best to ensure that when we lose an election, that we wanted to win. Or that when we win an election, we don't boast about it. That we understand and recognize that only together will we make this country as amazing as it can be. So with that, I end my time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. Well said. Councilmember Gameros.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of things I would like to mention. First of all, I had an opportunity to sit with Chief Glass, and I just want to say that I am really impressed with the way he has structured his police department. He took the time to explain to me the enormous amount of responsibility that he has had in a very short amount of time and a very trying time in our community. So I want to personally thank the chief because I had a really great conversation with him, and I know he's doing everything he can to support this community, to keep this community safe, and to make sure moving forward that we can all be successful and have as healthy of a life as possible. So thank you very much for speaking to me and for working really hard, Chief. The other thing that I'd like to say is it was mentioned a minute ago that the city may not be acting because someone could be a minority or there's a minority group involved with something and the city may not be acting appropriately. I'd like to say, coming from a minority background myself, that I would never, ever not act on someone's behalf because of their race. And I would never want to hear someone insinuate something like that. In case nobody knows, it's a majority minority group on this council. So we all take everything very seriously. And I know that Councilmember Chavez has done everything that he can to support this situation at Smart and Final. And it's a very unfortunate situation, but I definitely, I do empathize with what's going on. And if there's something that can be done, I know that Mr. Chavez would definitely make it a #1 priority to help out. So I know he's doing what he can do. One last thing I'd like to say about COVID-19, it's not the flu. Everybody keeps saying, oh, it's just the flu. And I keep hearing these things. You know, I lost a very good friend just today. He was 48 years old. He had a family. He was a construction worker. He worked every day to make ends meet. And now he's died because of COVID. And I can tell you right now, we've had a lot of epidemics in the past. We weren't losing people around us left and right until COVID came. So I would like everyone to take it seriously. Wear a mask. Keep your distance. If you have to go out and do something, please wear a mask. It's important. It's important for everybody. So with that, I yield my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Gamaris. Excellent advice. Councilmember Harlan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I echo both sentiments of my fellow council members, Chavez and Gamaros, and Councilmember Chavez in particular. I appreciate those very thoughtful words. I think I'm very hopeful for a peaceful transition of power tomorrow. And I have faith that the American people can, as Benjamin Franklin had challenged us, keep our republic. And I think we can do that through mutual respect and humility and most importantly, justice. On to more mundane issues, I have a few things district related and citywide and questions for staff. One relates to the short-term rental moratorium that we've extended. I know it's still very much an issue in District 6. We have a problem house here in Brentwood Park area that continues to be a problem. I understand that there's some challenges and for our police to enforce. So I want to have an understanding from staff as to what's been done from a code enforcement perspective, now that we have some tools to directly address the property owners of problem properties. And then secondly, I want to, again, thank the city for the street improvement projects that we have on the east side, Santa Ana Avenue in particular. And my question of staff is just to clarify that the street improvement project does align with our active transportation plan and our bike master plan. You know, as we're doing these projects, I want to make sure that we're promoting the policies that we have in place and that we actually see those physical improvements in place. And then lastly, just an announcement. Right before we stepped into council, I got a notice from the Newport Beach Planning Commission Chair, Eric Wygand, just alerting me that there's an item on the Planning Commission meeting for Newport Beach this Thursday regarding West Cliff Plaza. I believe it's a parking waiver. I haven't looked at it in any detail. I'll be monitoring it, but for those who live in that neighborhood, Irvine and 17th in particular, I just wanted you to be aware of it. And if you want to come speak or present or share any public opinion to the Planning Commission, please do. That's all mine for me now, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for being on top of that. Councilmember Harper.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. First I want to thank staff and the mayor and several of the council for being supportive in my transition here to City Council. With regard to national politics and politics in general, I'm going to refrain from commenting on it because I think I'm elected here to represent Costa Mesa, and they are difficult and divisive times, and I find sometimes the best thing to do is look and deal with what's in front of you, and I'll continue to do that. I would like to know, what we've done with regard to Smart and Final and that issue, and I'd certainly like to volunteer if anybody wants me to go out and talk to Smart and Final. I'd be happy to do it, since I'm the minority on the city council here. That's humor. I mean anything by that. By the way, my grandfather was an immigrant. My father's an immigrant, just for factual information. But well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to keep my comments simple tonight, and that's all I have for it.
Thank you. Yes, and as I said on the phone, just anytime you need any, I know it's a learning curve for council members, Gameros, Harlan, and Harper. Maybe not so much for Councilmember Harlan because he's been on our planning commission, but anything you need, I know any of us are happy to help. Okay, Councilmember Reynolds.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll also refrain. It's just been I think we could come up with tons of adjectives, a chaotic, traumatic, unprecedented time this past year. And I know certainly thought something was going to be different when 2021 hit, and it certainly hasn't. And I've been reflecting a lot on how to be helpful in this time, and really it's focusing local for me. And so I really appreciated Pastor Hanson's remarks about helping keep Costa Mesa be a place that we all love to live, and in encouraging residents to continue to help neighbors and volunteer. And so I want to thank all of the residents and community members who have been able to make time to volunteer, whether it's part of the big food drives or just check on their neighbor down the street who they know needs help. Thank you. You all are a critical part of keeping Costa Mesa a place we love to live, and really surviving this crisis together. And I want to thank staff. There's so much that you do that we do see, and there's so much that you do that we don't see. I remind myself of what I know that I don't see, and then there's always a whole bunch that I don't know that I don't see. So thank you for all of the work that you have done, especially in this last year on COVID, setting up local testing sites. I think for probably, I don't know, for the first time in history, partnering with Latino Health Access, for example, to get a local site for testing at our senior center. You guys have done incredible work, and separate from COVID, continuing to do a lot of work to help the residents of our community. So I really appreciate the responsiveness still on various ad hoc requests as residents are working on sort of the regular everyday things. So thank you for all of your work.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Marv.
Thank you, Mayor Foley. Yeah, I guess I've been thinking a lot about like how I can be so frustrated and hopeful at the same time and have those very conflicting emotions going on 24/7. Thank you to Ms. Ashendorf for her comment about seniors. It was something that actually has already come up today, specifically about how we reach folks who don't have transportation or technology. I think it's going to be a real challenge for us because those folks who are isolated are some of the most vulnerable too. And so if we're waiting too long to have a process in place, a system in place, enough vaccine, are we waiting too long? And so, I've held off on recommending that people use the Athena app because of the frustrations that I have heard, and I kind of keep waiting for it to get better so we can then blast it out and get people the right information, and it hasn't. And so I am hopeful that there's enough smart people, including our own chiefs, working on the issue and focused on the county rollout. And so again, frustration and hope in the same sentence. I am hopeful that there are vaccines. I'm hopeful that the inauguration goes well and we see some hope in sight, both in terms of, I think, the soul of America, but also in terms of federal funding and assistance for cities. We have millions of dollars that we have spent that we have not been reimbursed for. I think the city manager can correct me, but to my knowledge, we have not received a dime in FEMA reimbursements that were promised 8 months ago. And so I'm hopeful that there is hope on the way, also for folks who are struggling to pay rent, who are still struggling to financially cope with the situation right now. And then I am also frustrated that the Amazons of the world keep getting richer. And if you were doing fine before this pandemic, you were probably doing finer now. And so, I'm living with this tension, and I think many of us are. And so I'm probably vocalizing what I think many of you at home are thinking as well. So I'll try to focus on that hopeful front for a little while here, but I recognize, I hear you, I understand. It is pretty damn frustrating too. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, I think we all feel that frustration. The Athena app, the most recent, literally moments ago update is that supposedly you will be receiving an email notification from Athena if you have already registered. And you'll get that notification and it'll tell you when you can sign up to have your vaccination appointment. And they will only be issuing over the next week, I think it was, 3,000 appointments. Now, I really don't expect to get an appointment for my 94-year-old grandmother that we registered more than a week ago, because hundreds of thousands of people have signed up for the Athena app. So it's literally like a lottery if you get the vaccination appointment at this point. So it's all very frustrating. And you should know, though, Costa Mesa, that we are all working together, putting pressure where we can at the county level, at the state level, at the federal level, to make sure that our federal partners, our congressional leaders know that we don't have enough vaccine here in Orange County, making sure that our state partners know that we don't have enough funding to support the personnel costs to stand up all of these vaccination distribution systems as soon as we get the vaccine, and making sure that the county knows that similarly, that we need the support from the funding side if the state grants the funding to the county, making sure that the county knows that we need to get into those hard to reach neighborhoods, those individuals who are isolated in our community, seniors, people who speak multiple languages and don't have access maybe to technology, whether they are whatever age they are. Disabled individuals. So we are really trying our best. The vaccination distribution is controlled by the county, by the hospitals, and by UCI. And so right now, we're just on hold because we're out of vaccine, and we hope that more doses are coming this week. So stay tuned. We'll try to give updates on our social media, on our website. I've asked that we have some kind of a televised update using our cable channel. I think that's a way that we could take better advantage of that and get access to many individuals who are seniors who watch the TV maybe during the day. And also in partnership with our school district, I know that our city manager has been working with the interim superintendent to try to have a better ability for us to send out critical information. So we hope that that will be helpful as well. I want to just really quickly address the Smart and Final. I think someone's going to report on that, but yes, whatever we need to do to get it fixed, I hope we can get it fixed, because I don't want to have to hear about this problem happening again. Because, first of all, let me address this. None of us are ignoring this or intentionally disregarding it because people are Spanish speaking. That is absolutely false. We've been, all of the council members, myself included, have asked that this be addressed, but there is a process. I don't know where we are in the process, and hopefully somebody can share that with us tonight. But we do need to get that fixed. I want to pivot to something maybe a little more positive. COVID has impacted many of our projects that have been in the works for a long time, that we've all been excited to welcome into our community. And the community center, the Herzog Community Center, is one of those. And so we didn't get to do our ribbon cutting due to COVID. Well, today I opened my mail and I had a letter from Norma Herzog. And she is now 92 years old. Apparently, she had tried to send this email to me for many, many weeks, but it didn't go through. And so she finally just asked someone where she lives to print it out for her and mail it to City Hall. And so it finally got to me, but she can barely see anymore. But she says the world is still beautiful. She says, you look like we took the helm at the same time. I was 46. Well, I'm a little older than that, but I couldn't do it now. I still have a plan for one more event put on hold by the corona. I think of you so often with the problems you face daily. I had better close. And she just wants us all to know that she's so grateful for our recognition of her service to the city of Costa Mesa, and she's still looking forward to that ribbon cutting at the community center. So stay healthy and happy. And she, as our former mayor, is just truly grateful. So that's my long-winded way of asking, when are we opening the community center? So I'll ask the city manager to give us that report. And yes, it's been a very troubling, troubling time. It's frustrating. It's, I vacillate between hope, happiness, and sadness nearly every day. We had a couple of people that I know, and one that I was close to, die this week of COVID. I've had my, LexisNexis rep got COVID and was in the hospital, he and his wife. Family members in other states have had COVID, and hopefully they will recover. I think we're just all ready to be done with this, but we're not done yet. So practice the 3 W's, wash your hands, wear your mask, and watch your distance. Please, because that's the only way we're going to get out of this and stop the spread until we can get the vaccine flowing. And with that, I will turn it over to the city manager for a report. Ms. Farrell Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council, and good evening to everybody who's watching from home. Glad to have the opportunity to report on some of the things that we're working on throughout the city, and also to respond to some of the comments and some of the requests from council this evening. First, I wanted to just say that thank you as a staff person. It's very refreshing, and it means a lot to hear from our council the messages of unity, of coming together, especially at a time that's been so divisive in our nation's history. And so just as the city manager for the city, I thank on behalf of the leadership in the city in terms of our departments, our department heads, and also all of the staff for reinforcing those themes. As you were all speaking about your backgrounds and what yesterday meant for so many of us in honoring Martin Luther King's birthday, I remembered a quote of Martin Luther King's that's not often cited, but it's one that's near and dear to my heart because it speaks to really what's at the core of the nation, and a lot of the comments that you were making, which is we may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. And so we absolutely have all come from different ships. We're all in the same boat of the United States of America, and I'm hoping that as we move forward in every way, at every day, we continue to honor Dr. King's legacy and work on healing and unity. And that's not better done in any place, but at the local level. And so I've worked at different levels of government, the state level, the local level, and it's really at the local level where the tone is set. And sometimes it's top down, but I think at times it needs to be top up or bottom up. And so I think I'm happy that to be employed at a city where that's such a strong theme and that the council is so dedicated to that. And so thank you for that. That's something that makes me feel good about working at the city. And I think I can say that that's the case too on behalf of staff. So thank you for your comments on that tonight. Related to COVID, we're in a very tough place, as you know. In Los Angeles County, 1 in 3 individuals are that are testing positive for COVID. So those are numbers that I don't think any of us could have foreseen, along with the over 400,000 deaths at this point. And so it continues to be a major challenge in every single aspect of our lives. I am somewhat heartened, despite the challenges with the vaccines, because it does present a unique opportunity for us to start to dig our way out of this very deep hole. And despite the challenges with the vaccine implementation globally, nationwide, statewide, and locally, at least vaccines are getting into arms. They're not getting into arms fast enough, and they're not enough, but the process has begun. So I'm heartened by that. I am in favor of the county's proposal to get as many people vaccinated as possible by Independence Day so that we can enjoy a good summer. And so I'm hoping that some of these glitches in the Athena app will be fixed, and it appears that there's a very strong effort to do that. And so there are ways that we can improve getting the word out, and so we'll continue to do that. On our website, we do have information about the vaccine. And again, the Athena app is being re-engineered and has already been restructured somewhat to allow for better appointment opportunities and for everyone who has signed on and registered to be in the queue for an appointment. So that's great. Of the 5 super sites that the county is thinking of implementing or is planning on implementing, 1 is already operational, and hopefully another 1 will be underway in the next week or so. And then hopefully very close to us as well. And so they're starting to stage that up. And then, of course, there's the mobile unit concept at our senior centers throughout the county in partnership with the Council on Aging. And Ms. Ashendorf mentioned that, I'm happy to announce that just today, there was a walkthrough of our senior center site by the county, and the person who's the lead for the 2nd district, the 2nd supervisorial district for the county. And so we're really happy about that we're already talking to the county. We've had someone walk through our site, look at different ways that the site could be structured to enable us to get vaccines to our seniors, so our most vulnerable population. So we're excited about that. And it's one more step in the right direction, not where we want to be. Clearly we want to be further along, but at least that's still ongoing, and we'll continue to get the word out in that in every way possible that we can. And so we have my commitment to do that. And then another measure, of course, in terms of additional resources as it relates to vaccines, is the pharmacy system. And so if you have a relationship with CVS Pharmacy for your pharmaceutical needs and for your prescriptions, avail yourselves of the CVS information as well, because they are also being deployed to issue vaccines. Of course, our own medical providers are another resource and tool. And then Ralph's supermarkets, which have not yet in Orange County been staged up for the vaccine distribution, but have already identified locations even nearby Los Angeles County for vaccinations. And so there'll be multiple different ways to get the vaccine. And the rollout is definitely been short of our expectations, but I think there's a lot in the queue that hopefully will bear some fruit very soon. And so we'll continue to keep everybody posted on that. Regarding the testing opportunities too, just wanted to remind everybody that in addition to the super site at the OC Fairgrounds, we also have our senior center clinic that's available on the weekends. And so plenty of opportunities there for testing, and it's a free walk-up COVID test. It's not a drive-up, if you will. Of course, you can drive and park, but you can walk to the senior center and you'll be able to be tested with a good turnaround time by way of getting your results. Just another way to get the word out and to facilitate making sure that people have timely information to make good decisions with families and loved ones and coworkers, et cetera, regarding quarantining and such. And so at this point, we have testing in Costa Mesa 7 days a week. And so that's a huge improvement. Really glad about that. So now on to some of the other comments and questions that were raised during public comment and from the council member comments. First, I'd like to just mention that staff's available pretty much every day of the week to respond to questions. And while we might not be able to get to you immediately, we will absolutely get to you as soon as possible and as quickly as possible is generally what we strive for. And so please don't wait for these meetings to have a question if you have one, a burning question and an issue that you need for us to address. Sometimes we don't have everybody on the call who could be working on a specific topic, and I want to be as responsive to you as possible. So feel free to reach out offline as well to get responses. Just given the pandemic, we tend to have more of a skeleton crew on council night. So I want to make sure that we get you the information that you want and that you need timely and that it's thorough and it's accurate, of course. And so avail yourselves of us whenever you need to, please. That's first. On the issue of Smart and Final, Jennifer Lee is available this evening and can provide an update, but I know that she's been having regular meetings with the management there. And then once Jennifer's done with her update on Smart and Final, I can move through some of the other topics as well, if that so pleases you, Mayor and Council.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Lee?
Thank you, Mayor and Council members. I'm happy to give a status report tonight on Smart and Final. Following the December 1st council meeting, which was the first time we saw that video that we saw this evening as well, staff immediately reached out to Smart and Final management and notified both the store manager as well as the regional manager of Smart and Final regarding the complaints, and we also shared the specifics of that video. I specifically discussed good neighbor practices with Smart and Final's management and leadership, and they agreed that this is something that would be addressed immediately. Following that, we also immediately sent our code enforcement staff out to the site to multiple times per day, multiple days per week to take really a good sampling of observations at the site. So we also did that in the month of December. Following, we pulled together a task force that is multi-departmental. We have our city attorney's office as well as our police department and our code enforcement staff on a task force that meets regularly with Smart and Final's management. We met on December 16th, and we also met after the holidays, the first week of January, and we have bi-weekly meetings with that management team with the specific goal of identifying and implementing specific action items that will address the complaints that we've received. We continue with those efforts as with all outreach and ultimately enforcement actions. This is an ongoing effort, but we have committed the resources to do that, and we will continue until we get compliance as well as good neighbor practices and address the complaints that we've received. That's my report for this evening. I'm happy to continue to report regularly to the council on this matter.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. That seems like I'm glad you're doing all of that work. First, let me say that. However, that is quite a burden that we have as a city because Smart and Final is not taking care of the management of their business. So it seems like we're giving them lots and lots and lots of chances before doing anything. And so I guess at this point, I mean, we shouldn't have to spend this much staff time for them to do the right thing, I guess is what I'm saying. They should just do the right thing and shut down the employee behavior that is impacting the residents, prevent the loud noises that are in violation of the noise ordinance. And I mean, we shouldn't have to have weekly meetings about this, I guess. I'm glad you are, because that means you're addressing it, but that also tells me that they're not addressing it if we have to keep having meetings. So what can we do to expedite the corrective action for them?
Thanks, Mayor. Our goal with the weekly meetings is to ensure that we are timely addressing the complaints that we receive. So we don't expect this to be an ongoing effort. Our thought process is that we are identifying the complaints that need to be resolved, and we are coming up with specific action items, both with our staff and that the management team of Smart and Final agreed to. So that's our goal, is to have that compliance plan in place. And once that is in place, we expect Smart and Final will continue to implement that over time. That's the goal of our effort.
Okay, thank you. I just know you're super busy, so. Okay, Ms. Farrell Harrison, did you have anything further?
Well, one, thank you for reading that letter from Norma Herzog. That was amazing. I was really glad to hear that. So if
Mayor, I did have one question of Jennifer Lee, if you don't mind.
Okay, I was gonna call on you after.
I apologize. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'll be quiet.
That's okay. I was gonna let Ms. Farrell Harrison. Do you want to hold up and let him ask the question?
Sure.
Of Ms. Lee?
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Lee.
Yeah, Jennifer, we saw some complaints tonight, or heard some complaints. I just wondered, and the video is certainly a holdover from before. It's not new. We've seen it before. I just want to ask the direct question: is from the residents' perspective, has that situation improved? From your perspective, is Smart and Final improved?
From my perspective, yes, as it relates to the specific issues in that video, which is employee conduct. And we have specifically talked about that, and the Smart and Final regional manager and store manager have specifically committed to addressing that, and have had trainings with their staff on expectations and so forth. There are a number of other activities that I think we want to address at the site that are other sources of complaints. So those are the items that we will continue to work on.
All right, thank you. That's helpful.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for asking that question, Councilor Harper. Okay, Lori, Ms. Farrell Harrison. Sorry, it's like with my kids. What name is it?
So let's see. I was taking notes as I was hearing the comments from the council. So we had Smart and Final. I think Council Member Harlan, I believe that Raja Satharaman may have responded to your question regarding the capital improvements earlier today in an email. But if that's not the case, please, let me know offline, and I'll make sure to get that information to you. In terms of the community center opening, as you know, we have the ribbon cutting scheduled for right before the lockdown, and so. We are not at this time recommending opening the community center, because we obviously can't have gatherings, and we need to make sure that everybody's safe. I'm hoping that as soon as the restrictions are lifted, we could have a proper event and open it to the public. And so we're just kind of waiting patiently for that. And so as soon as the lockdown has been lifted, I think we can all enjoy the community center, which is sitting there anxiously waiting for us.
Is it possible, sorry to interrupt, is it possible, just because of the age of Mayor Herzog and us wanting her to be able to be here to enjoy the naming and recognition, is it possible for us to maybe just do some kind of little video or something for like before we can actually physically go there and do the ribbon cutting?
That's a fantastic idea. We'd be happy to do that. I think the intent was to have her participate in a video format for the live event, if you will. And so, yeah, that's a natural corollary. So I can work with our Costa Mesa TV team to get a good video going and to facilitate that as soon as possible. That's a great idea. We'd be happy to do.
That'd just be nice.
And I think on some of the other comments that were mentioned by council, we will report back to you offline, because I need to get an update and circle back with the team on those, just to make sure we get you the most accurate information possible. So I'll conclude there this evening, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Ms. Bartha, City Attorney report.
Yes, I do have a couple of items to report this evening. One is I wanted to let the public know what I advised the council earlier today, the Court of Appeal has denied the petition for writ that Sheriff Barnes filed to stop a jail release order relating to COVID. A number of cities, including Costa Mesa, supported the effort to overturn that order. There is a hearing scheduled, and we do expect the trial court to issue a follow-up order. So what the Court of Appeal has done is essentially said, we're not going to grant it for now, but if there is an order that actually specifies a date and a number of individuals or specific ordering to release inmates from jail, that the court would consider another petition. So we'll be following that and keep you apprised on that. And secondly, I wanted to address the enforcement issues that have been raised with respect to businesses that have not complied with many of the COVID-19 safety orders. And I apologize if I'm stepping on Chief Glass's toes here, but the department has been very active. Code enforcement and police department both have been very active in addressing non-compliance. The district attorney's office has filed charges with respect to one business that is a flagrant violator of the rules. We heard that ABC has been issuing some citations and suspensions as a result of non-compliance. We are also taking action through various administrative means to take enforcement action against businesses that are not complying with the orders. It's difficult in a business-friendly environment, knowing that so many businesses are struggling right now to balance the needs of the community and the public safety orders. But from our perspective, the city police department, code enforcement department, prosecutors department are working hard to make sure that public safety rules are being followed. So I do want to assure the council and the public that things are being done, even if you can't see them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. Consent calendar item. All matters listed under the consent calendar considered to be routine will be acted upon in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of any items unless an item is pulled by the public, by the city council, the mayor, or the staff. If a member of the public wishes to pull an item off the consent calendar for discussion, please use the hand raise feature or press *9 on your telephone now. And Ms. Green, City Clerk, do we have any items that council members requested to be pulled?
Madam Mayor, I have none from council, but I do have one from a member of the public. Mr. Taboda has requested consent calendar item number 6 to be pulled. Okay. And then I do see we have one member of the public. So I will allow them to speak and they can.
Okay, the telephone number ending in 814. Did you want to pull an item off the consent calendar?
The same one, number 6.
Okay, great. Oh, sounds like that's former council member Guinness. Nice to have you. Okay, let's see. Council, can I get a motion by a hand raise in the hand raise feature? Mayor Pro Tem Mar?
I'll move to approve the balance of the consent calendar.
Okay, Councilmember Reynolds. Okay, call for the question by voice vote. Ms. Green?
Member Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros?
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar?
Yes.
Mayor Foley?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Consent calendar item number 6 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Costa Mesa, California, ratifying regulation number 5 issued by the city manager as Director of Emergency Services to suspend enforcement of certain parking regulations in residential neighborhoods.
Okay, who would be, is this Ms. Barlow or Ms. Farrell Harrison? Who will give the report on this item?
I think I can introduce it, and then Chief Glass and our city attorney can provide additional information. And so this item here is ratifying an emergency action that was taken by me as Director of Emergency Services as it relates to parking citations. As you may recall, during the first lockdown that was initiated in March by Governor Newsom, the first stay-at-home order, you asked that we consider the temporary suspension and waiver of parking citations, specifically related to street sweeping activities, given the fact that so many more families and individuals were working from home to comply with the governor's order. And so in an effort to make sure that we weren't unduly penalizing residents for the fact that they were forced to work from home. In many instances, we suspended that. Also, with the knowledge that many of our residents and families have also suffered from the economic impacts of the pandemic, and so at this time, a parking citation is something that can make the difference for a family in terms of making certain payments or access to services. And so we did that for the duration of the stay-at-home order. When the stay-at-home order was lifted, we resumed the parking citations. And now that the governor has extended the most recent regional stay-at-home order, we felt the need to do that again as well, just to provide additional relief and also to make sure that we weren't, again, unduly punishing our residents at a time when people are struggling even more now after 10 months of the pandemic. And so the item that's before you tonight is basically certifying that order. The chief and our city attorney have worked closely on specific sections of our code and such that relate to that. And so this effort is basically one to provide relief to the residents. We believe that it's something that we can afford within the budget because we have already done it once. As of last year, we are monitoring all of our revenue streams. And so from that standpoint, we know that we can do this for a limited time, and it would be a benefit to our residents as well at a time when many families are struggling. And so I don't know if you have anything to add, Kim or Chief Glass, but that's basically the high-level summary of what's before you this evening.
Yeah,
Ms.
I
Barlow,
just want to
add, Chief Glass?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to add very briefly that we carefully looked at whether we wanted to suspend all parking regulations and deliberately determined that it should be limited to street sweeping and residential parking permit. It does not affect things like leaving your car for days at a time, unregistered vehicles, working on vehicles in the street, those types of things. And so we were targeting specific enforcement issues that relate to people's inability to leave their home every day to go to work. And so that was the basis for the regulation, and Chief Glass may wish to add more.
Chief Glass?
Good evening, Council, Mayor Pro Tem. No one will be doing this all of 2020. I know the intent of the council. We're not going out there and making areas available for individuals to park, especially during the stay home. So working with the city attorney's office, I think this is a good focus. It still gives us the ability when we have those type of situations that are quality of life issues that we could address. And I think we had this back at the beginning, back in March or April, when there was a vehicle that was parked almost a week, and we even went and tried to contact an individual to get them, let them know, hey, you need to move your car. So when we're out there, we are not targeting. We are out there trying to work with individuals. We'll try to make those attempts and have that discretion on the CVC aspect of it. But this, with this moving forward, just reinforces what we were already doing that you pushed forward earlier on the lockdown going forward.
Okay. And then the council member, or I'm sorry, is Mr. Taboda on the call? Well, let me ask the council if there's any questions of staff, and then I wanted to allow Mr. Taboda, who asked for this item, if he's on the call, to be able to be heard. Any questions by council for staff? Okay, seeing no hand raise. we will go to open public comment. Ms. Green, do we know which number is Mr. Taboda's?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have allowed him to speak and I'm asking him to unmute himself.
Okay, Mr. Taboda? You press *9 or *6 on your telephone to speak.
Madam Mayor, maybe we could go with the other speakers.
Okay.
And then he might be able to be on.
We'll go with the phone number ending in 814. If you want to press *9 on your telephone and *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Good evening. How are you, council member?
Okay. I hope you can hear me okay.
We can hear you.
I have concerns about this because we have an NPDES permit to discharge urban runoff into the storm drains, which eventually goes to the ocean in Upper Newport Bay. And part of that permitting process is that we use best available technology or highest types of methods for controlling urban pollutants, and that includes sweeping our streets. That also includes even making sure that our street sweepers are well maintained and functional. And when our street sweepers just go down the middle of the street and don't clean the gutters, you can see when it rains, there's a big oil slick, and it really, that's all going into the bay, that's all going into the ocean. And I know there's been a lot of emphasis on sustainability and being environmentally friendly. Well, letting all that junk go into the bay and into the ocean is not environmentally friendly, particularly the material that comes off of tires. And so if we're not going to sweep our streets, then we really need to figure out some way of cleaning that junk before we dump it into the ocean and the bay, because not only is it really poor environmental practice, but it also could be costly because there are fines under the Clean Water Act, which can be pretty costly because it's a per day. It's not just one big fine. It's every day that we're in violation. That's it.
Thank you. Glad to hear you're doing well. Okay, Mr. Taboda, was he able to get on the call, Ms. Green?
No, Madam Mayor. Okay. He's still not unmuted.
Okay. Mr. Taboda, can you unmute yourself on your computer?
Good evening, Council.
Got it. Yep. Continue. You can.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the technical glitch. Good evening and Happy New Year, Council. I wanted to comment on this. I do not have an issue with the intent of deferring the parking citations, but I think that council's being asked to make a decision to vote on something, but has not been provided a complete information before they vote. And the city manager in her comments just a minute ago did address some of this, or my concern, but under the physical impact section of the staff report, it states that the impact would be a loss of revenue, but this begs the question of how much revenue. Are we talking thousands, tens of thousands? What are we talking about? At the June council meeting, when the current year's budget was presented, one of the PowerPoints had a bullet point on it that said, starting with July 1st for the current year, to resume street sweeping and parking enforcement effective July 1st. Which would be the first day of the calendar of the financial year. The estimated revenue was $1 million. So we're talking a significant amount of money. So is the loss of revenue $1 million, or is because the year is half over, is it $500,000? What's the financial impact? And then what revenue sources will be are going to be used, if you will, to compensate for the loss of this revenue? The city manager said there's revenue, but okay, fine, but where is it or how much? I just think you council members should have some more information before you're asked to vote on these issues. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taboda. Okay, next speaker is the Maxwell Smart.
Madam Mayor, it appears deferment needs to be defined by council, because as I've understood it, there's certain things that are kind of being thrown in there. Like, you can't work on your car. It can't be parked for a certain amount of time. And I get those things, but those things need to be defined before you vote on them, I would suppose. And secondly, it's great to see Chief Glass in his office. He looks great. That's a $500,000 smile right there, isn't it? There you go. Love it. Good to see you. Have a nice night.
Okay.
$500,000. $500,000, everybody. There you go. Love ya.
Okay, Mr. Smart, thank you for your comments. At this time, we'll go to call-in user 2.
Thank you. I agree with what Mr. Taboda had to say regarding the income source, the amount. And I'd also like to inquire is if we're not actually utilizing the street sweeping, I mean, is there some type of hold on the contract for the street sweepers? Or they're just going to do as they did before and drive up and down the middle of the street with no real impact to what's going on to the neighbors? I live on the east side, and our drains do feed immediately into the bay, and we certainly are all worried about that. And the other indication, too, is that when people park on the street, you use your no parking day on Thursday to sort of urge them to relocate their car so they don't have the entire over a week to do this. But if you call the police, which is another strain on theirs to report an overtime parked car, which I think you said this isn't going to cover, then you've got the police coming out for another 72 hours, then coming out to do a citation or a tow. So I'm thinking that not only are we going to lose an income source, but we're also going to be utilizing precious police time on things that could be better served than parking, plus wasting the contract on the street sweepers. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone else wishes to speak to this item, please raise your hand in the hand raise feature at this time or press *9 on your telephone. Seeing no one, we will close the public comment. Councilmember Reynolds, do you have a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve staff recommendation on this item.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Chavez?
Second.
Okay, and Councilmember Reynolds, do you want to speak to the motion? And then Councilmember Chavez?
I'll just speak to it briefly. I want to thank staff for bringing this forward. We had something similar in place earlier on during COVID for the same reason, the sort of undue impact on residents. And I appreciate the comments about, maybe not as much detail as we're used to seeing here. And I hadn't noticed that because we had gone through a lot of detail in discussions the first time and that we discussed this item and through many conversations on different iterations with the considerations we heard from the city manager and city attorney. One of the things I think is really important to be aware of is we did look at data on where these tickets were being enforced in our city, and it just so happens because of the way we have the placement of our signs for street sweeping citations, the majority of the tickets issued, the majority of this $1 million revenue we've heard referenced came from our hardest hit communities. So it's a temporary direction to, again, reduce the impact on residents who are really struggling through these few months. I do appreciate the comments about the NPDES permit and discharge, and I'd be interested in doing a little bit of research on sort of short-term mitigation on that. But I think we've talked about with the food drives, every $20 counts, every $40 counts right now. And we've heard a lot of pain from residents who've been in areas that have been getting these tickets. So it's frankly the least we can do. So thank you, staff, for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councilmember Reynolds. Councilmember Chavez.
Yeah, and just continue with Member Reynolds' comments. You know, the $1 million we were receiving in revenue really came at the backs of District 4 and 5 residents. Like, I don't personally feel comfortable knowing that we're getting money finding our own residents, especially during a pandemic. And you know, this is something we've been doing for the past year. We've kind of worked the kinks out a little bit, which is why the report isn't as robust as it would have been. But overall, I think it's one small thing we can do to help out struggling families, particularly in our lower income communities in Costa Mesa. And as well, you know, just ensuring that people are kind of staying home and have an incentive to stay home. So for that, I'll support the motion.
Thank you. Council, any other comments? Please raise your hand in the hand raise feature. Councilmember Harper.
You know, I very much appreciate the public comments. That they're kind of well deserved and they're good points, things I didn't know. But I think you're trying to balance the things that Council Member Reynolds and Council Member Chavez brought up, and I respect those. I have a question then. If there's, I don't see it in here, but is there a timeline on this temporary? Is there an end to it? I didn't see it. If there isn't, can I have Councilmember Reynolds maybe adjust her motion to include a timeline?
Ms. Farrell Harrison, is there, or Ms. Barlow, is there a timeline?
Yeah, actually, the order will continue through the stay-at-home order and declaration of emergency, but it is subject to the council terminating it earlier. And so we did that in order to give you the maximum flexibility. We felt that if there was a change in the stay-at-home order and we were going to recommend a change, a reinstatement of the citations, we would bring that back to you promptly.
So this ends when the stay-at-home order ends, is that correct?
It ends when the state of emergency ends or until you end it sooner.
Okay, because you said stay-at-home order, not state of emergency. Which one?
It's the state of emergency. And the reason that we did it that way is because we had previously instituted a stop and then it was reinstated. We would do the same thing here when we see that circumstances have changed. We would bring that back to the council.
Okay, so state of emergency, not stay at home.
Correct.
Yeah, I'd sort of lobby for the stay at home just to kind of you know, make us address it again if there's the opportunity. But I'm fine either way. But again, I'm respectful of the comments we heard. So that's all I have, Mayor Paul.
Thank you, Councilmember Harper. Councilmember Reynolds, did you want to respond to the request?
It doesn't change my motion.
Okay. Ms. Farrell Harrison, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that having it end coincident with the regional stay-at-home order being lifted would work as well. I believe that's what we attempted to do the last go round, and so that would be consistent. But it's whatever the council decides.
Okay. Council, I don't see any other hands raised. Thank you for bringing this forward. I wanted to make sure that we share with the public. Who can tell us how much is it for a parking citation? So if you get a parking citation, if we didn't have this, how much would people have to pay for a parking citation? Do we know?
Chief, are we at $40 or $42?
40 or 45.
Yeah, I do not have that.
It's no less than 40 and no higher than 45. Let's say that.
Are you sure? I thought it was 110.
No, for a parking citation, no. There are other parking violations that might be that red curb, handicap, etc.
Okay. Okay, so $40 to $45. And then while this is in place, are we also, I know that we spoke about that issue that came up with some residents who had complained was in the Wimbledon neighborhood. And I think that we learned that this is happening also in District 4, where the street sweeping is on both sides of the street. So you really have no place to go. you can't go across the street because that street's blocked off too. So you have to go like around the corner. And now with everybody home, there's really no place to go. So are we looking at that system, using this time to look at that system so that we can fix that for going forward, so that there's always another side of the street that you could park on?
That's not part of this at this time. I think this is more of just a relief as it relates to the citations so that we don't further exacerbate the problem. I think in the future, we would look at the routes and the queuing and all that, and one side versus the two-sided. But between the residential parking permit and the parking citations, it's just not a tenuous situation while we're on this regional stay-at-home order.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll support the motion for all the reasons given here tonight. We'll call for the question by voice vote. Ms. Green? Ms. Green, are you there? I don't see her on our call anymore. Maybe she got cut off.
She's there. I think she's trying to speak.
Oh. I don't see her. Ms. Green, you have to unmute yourself.
I'll go ahead and do the roll call. She's having some technical difficulties.
Okay. All right.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan?
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros?
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar? Mayor Foley?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Easy.
There was one other question that I had forgotten to ask. It wouldn't have changed my vote, but Ms. Farrell Harrison, is this something that we can track and submit for reimbursement in terms of a loss of revenue because of COVID?
I will go back and check the Federal CARES Act language to see if this is an eligible expense. I do recall seeing that certain expenses would be eligible, or revenue losses would be eligible if they were associated with the lockdown specifically. And so we'll look at that language to see if that's an opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Moving on. We now have our one old business item that we have tonight. Is Ms. Green able to get back on the call yet?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, so can you read the title, please?
Thank you. This is first reading of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Costa Mesa, California, amending Chapter 3, Parks, Arts, and Community Services Commission of Title 12, Parks and Recreation of the Costa Mesa Municipal Code. And I will be doing the report on this. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight for your consideration is an ordinance for first reading that changes the appointment process for members of the Parks, Arts, and Community Services Commission. The proposed changes will allow the appointments by district and also with the mayor's at-large appointment. This is very similar to the Planning Commission appointment process. Staff is also requesting changing the terms of current commissioners whose terms are currently set to expire in 2023 to end upon appointment of new commissioners by City Council. Also to direct the city clerk to post the special vacancy notices, proceed with an extended recruitment period from 1/20 to 1/25, 2021 to reflect district appointments and the mayor's at-large appointment. This concludes my staff report.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Okay, council members, by raise of hand in the hand raise feature, are there any questions? Seeing no one, we will open this item up for public comment. And it looks like we have one speaker. If you'd like to speak to this item, please raise your hand in the hand raise feature or press *9 on your telephone. And when I call on you, you'll be unmuted with *6. Mr. Chapman. You can unmute yourself. There you go. Mr. Chapman, did you want to speak to this item?
He lowered his hand.
Oh, okay. Okay, if you'd like to speak to this item, please raise your hand in the hand raise feature or press *9 on your telephone. All right, seeing no one, I will ask for a council motion. Councilmember Chavez. You're on mute.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the item as staff recommended.
Okay, Councilmember Reynolds.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Chavez, anything you'd like to speak to?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm very happy to be doing this with Councilman Reynolds. Last meeting, we voted to change the way we appoint because we wanted to ensure we have representation in each district, particularly in West Side Costa Mesa, where as of right now, we don't have any person serving on the PACS committee from West Side Costa Mesa. This is one way to ensure that every district has equal representation. So I think it's a good step forward for our city.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Second.
Okay. Okay, so I have one question as it relates to attachment 1, paragraph E, with regard to the senior and the arts liaisons. So, at the time we did this because we collapsed the senior commission into this commission. And so would the maker of the motion, Councilmember Chavez, would you be agreeable to a change to that sentence to add at the beginning of the sentence to say, if the mayor does not assign, comma, the members of the commission shall designate, yada, yada.
I am okay with that.
Okay, Councilmember Reynolds.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else wish to speak to this item? Please raise your hand in the hand raise feature. Seeing no one, we'll call the question by voice vote.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
We lost you again, Ms. Green.
Ms. Green, we can't really hear you.
There we go. No.
Councilmember Gameros?
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan?
Yes.
We lost you again.
Harper?
I thought it was me, yes.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar?
Yes.
Mayor Foley?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. I'm so
All right.
sorry for the difficulties.
That's okay. There's always some technology problem, it seems. I think it's amazing what we've gotten through in this last year. Okay, we have 4 new business items tonight. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title for business item number 1?
Appointments to the Planning Commission. Tonight for your consideration are for appointments to the Planning Commission from Districts 1, 2, and 6, and 1 at-large mayor's appointment. Staff received 27 applications for the 4 vacancies to be filled. Staff suggests that after public comments, each appointment be considered separately. Each council member shall appoint the commission member for his or her district, and it is subject to approval by a majority vote of the entire city council. Lastly, the mayor shall appoint the at-large commission member, subject to approval by a majority vote of the entire council. That concludes the staff report.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions before we open this item up for public comment? Please raise your hand in the hand raise feature. Seeing no one, we'll move to public comment. If you'd like to speak to this item, please raise your hand in the hand raise feature or press *9 on your telephone. Mr. Chapman.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm listening, but I wanted to apologize for the Zoom mishap earlier. So
No worries.
So sorry.
That's okay. Did you want to speak to this item or?
No. I just want to apologize for earlier. Thank you.
Oh, not a problem. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Okay. Anyone wish to speak to this item? Please press or please raise your hand in the hand raise feature on your computer or press *9 on your telephone. All right, seeing no one, we will move back to the City Council. Council, please raise your hand in the hand raise feature to make a motion. Oh, that's right. We're going to go to a vote on each of these separately. So I'll begin with District 1. Councilmember Harper, if you'd like to make a selection.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Jonathan Sitch for District 1.
Okay. Is there a second? Please raise your hand in the hand raise feature. Councilmember Reynolds.
Second.
Okay. Call for the question on the nomination of Jonathan Sitch for District 1.
Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros,
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan,
Yes.
Councilmember Harper,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynolds,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar, Mayor Foley.
Did you get Mayor Pro Tem Mar? Okay. Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we will now move to District 2. Councilmember Gameros, if you'd like to make a selection.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to nominate Kadarius Colbert.
Okay, I'll second. Please call the question by voice vote. Ms. Green?
Councilmember Reynolds. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can
Yes.
you hear me? Councilmember Reynolds,
Yes.
Councilmember Harper,
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan,
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar,
Yes.
Mayor Foley.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, next up is a motion by District 6, Councilmember Harlan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I may, just before I make a nomination, I just want to express my thanks and gratitude to all of those who did submit nominations. We fielded about 10 applicants for District 6, which is it's great. I mean, it really shows some enthusiasm and interest in our community. I was really pleased to see the variety of experience and expertise that's being brought to this. And I had the occasion to talk with a few of the applicants, got to know them a little bit better. And I'm really pleased that we're able to field this kind of interest and that we have this talent here. So I think we're definitely going to have the best available for the Planning Commission. Having said that, I'd like to nominate Russell Toller for Planning Commission for District 6. And just briefly, I want to explain my nomination, just because this is an important. I've served on the commission for 4 years. I know what it takes to do the job and to work with what I think is really a fine group of individuals. Russell is a very experienced planner, urban planner. He has a great design aesthetic. He works directly in code planning, so he understands codes, which is, I think, incredibly important to have that technical facility. He's also active in our bicycle and pedestrian efforts here in the city, and I believe he understands policy. And I think most importantly, he's a very thoughtful individual.
We lost you, Councilmember Harlan. Councilmember Harlan, I don't know if you can hear me, but maybe you can refresh.
What works sometimes is closing out your video.
Okay, can someone text him and ask him to log out and log back in?
Second.
Okay. Motion and second for Russell Toller for District 6. Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Seeing no one, we will call for the question. Ms. Green?
Councilmember Reynolds,
Yes.
Councilmember Harper,
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan,
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar,
Yes.
I didn't hear her say my name, but yes.
and carries 7-0.
Okay, Councilmember Harlan, you froze up after saying he's very thoughtful. Please continue.
Yes, I did freeze up. I was just so overcome. Sorry, I just wanted to wholeheartedly nominate Russell Toller for District 6 Planning Commission.
Okay, all right. So thank you. And thanks to everyone who applied. We did get a great number of applicants for the Planning Commission and for all the city committees for that matter. I also want to thank those who have participated on the Planning Commission. For the mayor's appointment, I will be nominating John Stevens. I think at this time, it's really important that we have somebody who has some experience with some of our housing element issues, our cannabis issues, and those applications that are going to be coming forward. And so that's my nomination for the mayor's appointment. And I want to thank Commissioner Mark Perkins for all of his service. And I hope that he will stay involved in our bike and walkability committees. Is there a second? Councilmember Chavez.
Yes, I second the motion.
Okay. Call for the question by voice vote. Ms. Green. Ms. Green, are you there?
Hi, I'm gonna try again. She's having issues.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Councilmember Reynolds,
Yes.
Councilmember Harper,
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan,
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar,
Yes.
Mayor Foley.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Thank you. And then Ms. Farrell Harrison, the first meeting for the new planning commissioners will be when? Or Ms. Lee, maybe she knows.
Jennifer, do you have the specific, is it the first meeting in February or do we need to take, I'm not sure if anyone new needs to take an oath.
We'll have our first meeting January 25th. And the city clerk's office and I have already coordinated on any official swearing in that needs to happen at that meeting.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business item number 2. Ms. Green.
I'm gonna step in for Ms. Green again.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bennett.
New business item 2 is fiscal year 2019-20 independent financial audit of the Costa Mesa Housing Authority and the Housing Successor Annual Report of the Low and Moderate Income Housing Asset Fund under section 34176.1 of the Dissolution Law of section 34328 of the California Housing Authorities Law. And the staff presentation is by Ms. King, Assistant Finance Director.
Before we go to Ms. King, it's come to my attention that maybe some of the cutting in and out is because of the winds. Apparently there are some lines down. So just to let everyone know, that might be creating some problems as we move forward. Ms. Molina.
Thank you, Mayor Foley. Good evening, council members and honorable mayor. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce Jennifer King, the Assistant Finance Director, who will be providing tonight's financial reports for fiscal year 2019-20 for the Housing Authority. As you may know, the Housing Authority's primary responsibility lies in promoting affordable housing for families of low and moderate income. In 1920, it was the first full year of the homeless project and programs as well in the Housing Authority, as well as that full annual expenditure accounting. I also wanted to take this moment to thank staff, specifically Jennifer King, for all of her hard work. As you know, in 1920 is when COVID hit and all of the financial restrictions that came with it, all of the fiscal, the social guidance set forth by the governor, and all of the workings with the auditors that took additional time and staff time to prepare these financials. I'll go a little bit more into detail during the CAFR, but at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Jennifer King so she can start to share the results of the financial authority from July 1st through June 30th, 2020. Jennifer?
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. If you can give me a moment, I'd like to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
We can see it.
Okay, wonderful. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. It is my pleasure tonight to present to you the fiscal year 1920 Housing Authority's audited financial statements and its performance results. I have included a brief introduction to the items in my presentation tonight. Before we get to the financial numbers, I would like to take a minute to just do an overview of the Housing Authority's history and its programs. The Costa Mesa Housing Authority was formed as a direct result of the state dissolving all redevelopment agencies on February 1st, 2012. The City Council, pursuant to Health and Safety Code, elected to create a new legal entity to retain the housing assets and functions previously held by the former RDA. Subsequently, the state approved the transfer of these housing assets to the Housing Authority's Low and Moderate Income Housing Asset Fund. It's LMIHAF for short. The state mandates the type of expenditures Low and Moderate Income Housing Fund can be spent on and how much they can spend on each year. Expenditures above and beyond the Low and Moderate Income Housing Asset Fund allowance have to come from other sources, which can be grants, donations, or general fund subsidies. On this slide, I summarize the programs previously held by the former RDA, and those are affordable housing related programs. They include loans extended under the first-time homebuyers program, single-family rehab program, and rental rehab programs. They also included loans for affordable housing, such as the Costa Mesa Village or James Street and West 18th Street property. They also include a ground lease at the Costa Mesa Family Village. In addition to these affordable housing programs, the Housing Authority also accounts for the city's homeless services programs. And it includes the homeless outreach program and the bridge shelter operations. For fiscal year 1920, the Housing Authority ended the year with a positive balance of about $246,000. The authority's overall fund balance totaled roughly $3.6 million at June 30th, 2020. The Housing Authority, as Ms. Molina mentioned before, this fiscal year 1920 is the first full year for the homeless services programs. And on this slide, the homeless program came under budget by about $19,000, which is amazing by itself, given the pandemic challenges for the last 4 months of the fiscal year. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, council members, are there any questions? Please indicate by raising your hand in the hand raise feature. No questions. We'll open this item up for public comment. If there's anyone wishing to speak to this item, please raise your hand in the hand raise feature or press *9 on your telephone and press *6 to unmute. Okay, seeing no one, close the public comment. Council members, is there a motion with the hand raise feature? Mayor Pro Tem Mar?
I'll move to receive and file the staff report.
Okay, Councilmember Chavez?
Second.
Okay. Ms. Molina, do you need any further direction from us, or is that sufficient?
Just the vote. Thank you very much.
Call for the question by voice vote.
Councilmember Reynolds,
Yes.
Councilmember Harper,
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan,
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar,
Yes.
Mayor Foley.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Green, next item, number 3. Can you please read the title?
The next item is receive and file the city's audited financial reports and Costa Mesa Public Financing Authority's audited financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2020. And the staff presentation by Ms. King, Assistant Finance Director.
Ms. King or Ms. Molina?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council Member. It is our pleasure to present to you the 1920 year-end CAFR results. I did want to speak a little bit further in this particular financials, since this does include all of the city's financials, including the general fund or special revenue funds and so forth. And it is extremely proud that we have ended the fiscal year in such a positive note. Just a reminder that COVID hit that last quarter of the fiscal year, where we immediately turned around and were proactive in ensuring essential costs only within the city and being able to really get ahead of the revenue loss that the general fund experienced. I wanted to thank leadership, council, as well as staff for all of their hard work during that last part of the fiscal year, because we really did end the year in really great rewards. I also wanted to take an additional moment to thank Jennifer as well. Preparing the CAFR for her starts right on July 1st. She starts to prepare all of the analysis, financial reportings, ensuring proper accounting rules and GASB rules are followed as she starts to prepare for the auditors. The auditors, Jennifer Farr here, is with us as well. She will be co-presenting with Jennifer King to present to you the results of all of that hard work. With COVID, we had to be extremely strategic and think outside the box on how to provide the auditors with all of the required documentation that they need to gather to ensure proper auditing results for the city. So I do want to take this moment to thank both Jennifers in this case for all of their hard work and dedication that they did in this last 9 months to make sure that this CAFR results that are before you tonight were thoroughly reviewed and audited by our outside auditing firm. With that, I'll turn it over to Jennifer.
Thank you. King. Thank you. And before we hear from Ms. King, I want to compliment the finance department on the amazing work that you've been doing. Also on the excellent presentation to the FIPAC committee, the finance committee, I think it was last week. And my days all run together these days. But yes, it's been a great team effort, and we really appreciate what you've been able to accomplish given the pandemic, and we're so grateful. So thank you. Ms. King.
Thank you, Mayor. Give me a moment, I'll bring up my screen. Can everyone see it?
Yes, we can see the screen. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks again, Mayor and council members. And this item before you tonight is the city's overall financial results and the audited financial statements, commonly referred to as the CAFR. And Ms. Jennifer Farr from the audit firm of Davis Farr is in the audience and will be sharing the presentation to you tonight.
Ms. Farr?
And before we get to, I'd like to just give a brief overview of the items that we'll discuss tonight. And I would like to just take this opportunity to just do an overview of the city's finance as well as applicable governmental accounting principles practices. I will also highlight a few areas which distinguish municipal accounting from private sector accounting. And Ms. Farr will review the auditor's report and their opinion on the city's finance. And I will follow up with the 1920 financial performance results. And similar to a lot of municipal agencies, the city's fiscal year begins from July 1st to June 30th. And the city is a full service city, which means we provide our own fire and police services to the residents. And the general fund is the city's operating fund, has an overall budget of $142 million for fiscal year 1920. Other city funds account for the remaining 30 million for a total of 172 million across all funds. And I'll also go into fund types other than the general fund in a little bit. The city's accounting practice is GAAP-based, based on governmental accounting standards. This standard is used by every municipal agencies in the United States. And the accounting standards is regulated by Governmental Accounting Standards Board, GASB, which also issues requirements for municipal agencies' audited financial statements to ensure uniformity in financial reporting. One of the unique concepts in governmental accounting is the fund accounting. Essentially, a fund is a set of self-balancing accounts. It contains revenues and expenditures pertaining to one specific activities. The city has a total of 33 funds that are reported in 6 fund categories as defined by governmental accounting standards. And in the next slide, I'll go into a little more detail on what those 6 fund types are. The GASB definition of the fund types applicable to the city is listed as follows. As mentioned before, the general fund is the city's operating fund, which collects unrestricted revenues such as sales tax, property tax, franchise tax, fees and charges, and also supports a variety of city activities. Staff pays very close attention to the general fund's fund balance as it is a good indication of the city's financial health. And later on in the slide, we'll go over the general fund's fund balance in more detail. The special revenue fund is for activities that are funded by external resources, such as grants and special assessments. Some prime examples of special revenue funds is the CDBG fund and AQMD fund. And the city's disaster fund for COVID responses is also a special revenue fund, since we are receiving CARES Act federal funding for mitigation expenses incurred. The Capital Projects Fund is used to track large dollar projects that usually takes longer than a year to complete. And the city also tracks revenues and expenditures for 2 bond issuance under the debt service funds. And This includes the 2017 bonds that were issued for the Lions Park project. The city's internal service fund consists of vehicle replacement fund, self-insurance fund, and IT replacement fund. They are to provide services to all city departments, and they are funded from internal rent charges paid by the departments. And lastly, the city holds assets such as deposits and contributions on behalf of other entities, and they are accounted for in the agency fund. Moving on to the 1920 financial audit. And the audit, as mentioned before, is conducted by Davis Farr LLP. And the city's financial statements for 1920 receive a clean opinion. And the financial statements have a long history of achieving excellence in financial reporting. And this is our 22nd year to receive a financial reporting award from the top professional association in the United States. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Farr, who will present the audit results.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Jennifer Farr, and I'm the partner in charge of your audit engagement. And I'm not sure how to turn on my camera, so we'll have to deal with my thumbnail picture. I did want to let you know that our firm specializes in financial statement and compliance audits for government agencies, and we're currently providing audit services to over 30 cities in California, and we do specialize in Southern California. Our audit services for the city of Costa Mesa included expressing an opinion on the city's comprehensive annual financial report. We also issue separate reports for the Public Financing Authority, the Financing Authority, the Housing Authority, and several other special reports. We also
Ms. Farr, I don't know if you can hear me, but you've cut out. I think we lost you. This is a bummer.
Sounds like I'm back now.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
I'll blame it on the wind.
Yes.
So I was saying that we issue a number of reports for the city, and we are still pending our report on the single audit of federal expenditures. And those procedures have just started in the month of January, and we plan to issue that report shortly. I wanted to provide information about our audit opinion, which is the first page or page 1 of the comprehensive annual financial report. It states that the city of Costa Mesa's management is responsible for the preparation of the financial statements, and the auditor is responsible for expressing an opinion on whether the financial statements are presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and are free of material misstatement. As previously mentioned, we were able to issue an unmodified audit opinion dated December 21st, 2020, and that is the highest level of opinion that the city can receive.
Ms. Farr, can you explain what unmodified audited opinion means?
Of course. Unmodified means that there are no modifications to the fact that your financial statements are free from material misstatement. So a modification could be if we had noted something was materially incorrect, we could have added a paragraph that would explain basically what is wrong. So unmodified means you have no modifications to our audit opinion.
Thank you.
Our standard audit procedures for government audits include substantively testing all material assets, liabilities, deferred outflows, and deferred inflows. And we do this through multiple tests, including vouching balances to third-party evidence, sampling transactions, and performing predictive tests. And on the revenues and expense side, we begin with an analytical approach. And if those results vary from our expectations, we do additional substantive testing of those balances as well. Your audit is performed using a risk-based audit approach. And so that means the audit will not be the same every year. Each year we will evaluate the risk facing the city and where we believe there could be a material misstatement or error. For this year's audit, in addition to our normal audit approach, we also focused on testing your pension and other post-employment benefit obligations. We evaluated the impact of COVID-19 on revenues, expenses, and other operations of the city. And we performed a special data mining test of your cash disbursements to evaluate whether there are any anomalies in your cash disbursement transactions. And I'm happy to report that we had no issues as a result of that testing. During your audit, we also evaluate internal controls for the purposes of assessing risk and developing our audit procedures. And we've included in this slide some of the key accounting cycles that we evaluate. I did want to point out that for a government audit, we do not express an opinion on internal controls, but we do report back to you if we identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in those internal controls. As I previously mentioned, we are still working on the single audit of federal awards. And at the time we issue that report, if we do have any internal controls, we will communicate those to you at that time. I also wanted to let you know that the government auditing standards require that the auditors test for compliance with laws and regulations that are deemed to be direct and material to the financial statements. That means we don't test all laws and regulations impacting the city, but the ones that we feel are significant. So I've included in here some of the risk areas or the laws and regulations that we believe are significant for the city. For example, purchasing compliance or budgetary compliance. And we did not identify any issues as a result of our compliance test. So overall, it was a very clean audit in terms of not having audit findings or issues related to the audit. And you do have the highest level of opinion that we can provide you. So before I turn it back over to Ms. King, I did want to take an opportunity to thank Ms. Molina and Ms. King and their team. We do make them do a lot of work to provide us a lot of documentation to get to this point. And it was an extraordinary effort on their part this year, and we wanted to thank them for their efforts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, Ms. King, did you have anything else you wanted to share? I think you're on mute.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Watt. Thank you, Mayor. Before we get to the financial results, I just want to take a moment to echo Ms. Molina mentioned earlier. Want to give my sincere thank you to the entire finance team as well as other department staff. Without them, this financial report would not be possible. On this slide, we're looking at the city's operating fund, the general fund, budget or actual results for fiscal year 1920. And the general fund ended the year in the positive territory, despite significant revenue decreases from the pandemic. On a budgetary basis, the total revenue was below budget by $4 million. Within 30 days of declaration of the emergency, staff brought to the council a multifaceted cost containment plan to reduce expenditures. In total, all city departments were able to reduce operating expenses by $6 million in comparison to the adopted budget. this amazing achievement allow us to end the fiscal year in a positive note. Comparing actual to actual results from 1819, the general fund's revenue decreased by 7 million. However, a part of this 7 million decrease was a one-time item in 1819, where we had the $2 million addition to sales tax due to the state's system change. If we remove that $2 million one-time change, the revenue decrease from the year to year is 5 million. The general fund's operating expense increased by 2 million. And the city aggressively cut back on operating expenditures as soon as the COVID fiscal impact became apparent. It is not unusual for the city's operating expenditures to go up from year to year simply due to CPI adjustments. This could impact a variety of expense categories from purse costs to contract costs. But overall, the city was able to contain the operating expenses and end the year with the positive 167,000. As I mentioned before, the general fund's fund balance is it's an important indication of the city's fiscal health. Over the years, the city council has committed several categories in reserve in anticipation of disasters or rainy days. And these committed categories build a solid foundation for the city to weather this pandemic. The other portion of the fund balance are assigned to employee leave accruals, a supplemental retirement plan, and the Section 115 trust. And the non-spendable fund balance is for prepaid items, and the remaining is unassigned fund balance, which can be used for any purposes as approved by the City Council. In the next two slides, we'll look at funds other than the general fund. In February last year, we triggered the disaster fund when the city first declared emergency from potential transfer of COVID patients from the Diamond Princess cruise ship. In response to COVID, the city incurred a total of 3.4 million expenditure by June 30th, 2020, in order to protect lives. We also received just over $1 million in reimbursement by June 30th. And subsequently, we have received additional 1.6 million reimbursement from federal and state agencies, as well as from Orange County. On this slide, we look at the operating results for all funds. This includes the general fund, all special revenue funds, capital projects funds, debt service funds, and internal service funds. The overall revenue was about 3 million less than the amended budget. As the city's revenue decreased, the city's cost containment plan pulled back operating expenditure, and the city was able to reduce more, about $5 million in operating expenses to end the year in a positive note, and which is a huge accomplishment in itself. The city's strong financial management and budget flexibility are also recognized by major financial institutions. In December, S&P, Standard & Poor's, just reaffirmed the city's 2017 bond rating at AA+, based on the strong financial performance indicators during a pandemic, and as well as in the midst of worldwide COVID fiscal impact to municipalities across the nation. And this is this further affirms that the city's strong financial capability. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. King. And council, if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand in the hand raise feature. Are there any questions from council members regarding the city's financial analysis? Okay, Councilmember Reynolds.
Hi, I'll just have one question, and this is about the COVID-related expenses. Could we jump to that slide where you just had the, I think it was the COVID-related expenses and then the revenues that we've received?
Yes.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure I understand this. So the ending fund balance at 2.3 million, is this money that we're, sort of still fingers crossed gets reimbursed for, that we get reimbursed for that 2.3?
So let me chime in. Of that $2.3 million, we've already received 1.6 million. We have incurred some expenses. Obviously, since we're still in COVID, we are hopeful that we will be receiving some funding under the new administration. Just last week has provided some information on an interest to provide some additional funding to local governments. We're hopeful that that will come through. We are also been meeting with FEMA in the hopes that we receive some funds. All of the revenues that we've received so far have been either from the CARES Act or from the County of Orange, but we have not received any FEMA funds, and we're hopeful that we may start to receive some FEMA funds as well. We don't know at this point. None of those revenues are guaranteed except for what we received so far.
My understanding is that any expenses that are qualify as reimbursable, we're sort of holding in this separate bucket, and yes, hopeful, especially with, I forget which new act, but some of the activity that some more money is coming down the line. Is that correct? That anything that's reimbursable is sort of it's a bucket on the side?
We, in this disaster fund, is where we're tracking all of our expenses related to the disaster. And we're hopeful that most, if not all, would be considered reimbursable. Whether or not we actually receive any funding is yet to be determined.
Got it. Okay, thank you. And is power out in your home?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks for powering through. All right, thank you. That was my only question.
Okay, I don't see any other hands raised in the hand raise feature. So I will move to open this item up for public comment. If anyone wishes to speak to this item, please do so by raising your hand in the hand raise feature or press *9 on your telephone. Okay, seeing no hands raised or no requests to speak, I will close public comment. Council, is there a motion? Please raise your hand in the hand raise feature. Councilmember Chavez.
I move to receive and file.
Thank you. Council, is there a second? Councilmember Harlan.
I'll second.
Okay, Councilmember Chavez, would you like to speak to the motion?
Nope.
Okay, Councilmember Harlan, would you like to speak to the motion?
The only thing I'd like to say is just how much I appreciate the work that our finance department did and under the leadership of our council and executive management last year. I mean, being able to put together the budget on a notice like that, I know it's kind of a remarkable achievement, and I want to make sure we highlight that. I'm hoping we don't have to do that again in the coming year, but clearly it's comforting to know that we have the capacity and we have the talent to do that. So I just want to express my thanks for that.
Thank you. Any other council members like to comment on this item? Mayor Pro Tem Moore.
Yeah, similarly, I just want to say thank you. I think the other thing that people don't realize is you're doing it sort of with one hand tied behind your back and about a quarter of the tools that I use to manage my P&L at work. So, you know, you guys are doing a phenomenal job without all of the bells and whistles, and somehow have managed to still make us look good over and over again. So thank you for all of that.
Okay. Seeing no other hands raised. Yes, again, I'll just express my also appreciation for the hard work of our finance team and our city manager and our leadership team for getting us through this crisis economically, as well as our, public safety team and our social workers helping us get through it on the public health side. But the economic side was also very scary at first when we first started seeing what was happening. So really appreciative. I also want to compliment our planning department, because the planning department was able to quickly help to pivot in some of our codes. Our city attorney helped in that regard as well. And because of our ability to keep businesses open when we were allowed to be outside, our ability to open up places like South Coast Plaza and the Pavilion, and to keep those high-end income earners shopping at the plaza safely was really critical, I think, to the revenue generation. And of course, we have to give a shout out to former Mayor Pro Tem John Stevens, because, golfing became very popular during the pandemic, and our golf revenues also contributed a little bit to this budget. But really appreciate the work that people have done in the city to keep our finances healthy and to end the pandemic. I think we're one of two cities I read, Ms. Molina or Ms. Farrell Harrison, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that only Costa Mesa and Newport Beach in Orange County ended without dipping significantly into our reserves, and with more than 50 million in reserves. Is that right? That's what I read somewhere. I don't know if you can trust what you read, but that's what I read. Okay, that I see heads nodding. Yes. So thank you, because that's very important, because as we go into this next cycle, we started COVID almost through the end of the fiscal year already. So as we go into this next cycle, we know that you're monitoring those finances very closely. We are fortunate to have some auto dealers, high-end auto dealers that happen to open during COVID that will help generate some extra revenue that we didn't anticipate when we passed our budget. And we also have, some, I think with the cannabis retail coming forward this year, we'll at least get a little piece of that maybe towards the end of the fiscal year. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We're so grateful. And with that, we'll call for the question. Ms. Green or Ms. Bennett?
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros?
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar?
Yes.
Mayor Foley?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, this says that we're now going to talk about the financing authority, or did we combine those two?
The next
item number 4. Yeah, okay. Item number 4, please, Ms. Green or Ms. Bennett.
Item number 4 is receive and file the Costa Mesa Financing Authority's audited financial statements for fiscal year ended June 30, 2020. Staff presentation by Ms. King, Assistant Finance Director.
Thank you. Ms. King?
Thank you, Mayor. Hello again, Mayor and council members. This item, let me share my screen. I apologize. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
This item before you tonight is to present the audited financial statements and performance results for the Costa Mesa Financing Authority for fiscal year 1920. And similarly, I'd like to just do a quick brief overview of the discussion topic tonight. And the Financing Authority, I'd like to take a moment to discuss the Financing Authority's functions, and then we can dive into the operating results. The Costa Mesa Financing Authority is a separate legal entity formed in 2017 by a joint powers agreement between the city and the Housing Authority, Costa Mesa Housing Authority. The authority holds the 2017 lease revenue bonds, which provided partial funding for the Lions Park project. And the authority, currently the authority's main function is to administer the city's debt service payments for the 2017 bonds. The authority, the Financing Authority's activities are included in the city's CAFR, but the authority just simply issue a separate set of financial statements for reporting purposes. For the fiscal year 1920, the Financing Authority ended the year with a very small fund balance. And the authority collected lease payments and make debt service payments accordingly. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Council. Are there any questions for Ms. King? Seeing no hands raised, we will open this item up for public comment. If you wish to speak to this item, please press *9 on your telephone or raise your hand in the hand raise feature on your computer. Seeing no one, we will close public comments. Council members. Councilmember Chavez.
Move to receive and file.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Mar. Okay. Any comments by either of you? Okay. Move Ms. Green or Ms. Bennett call for the question by voice vote.
Councilmember Reynolds,
Yes.
Councilmember Harper,
Yes.
Councilmember Harlan,
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mar,
Yes.
Mayor Foley,
Yes.
motion carries 7-0.
All right. Excellent. Now it's the time of the meeting. If there are any additional council member committee comments, suggestions, if you'd like to speak at this time, please raise your hand in the hand raise feature. Mayor Pro Tem Mar.
Thank you. So one of the subcommittees of the board of the OC Fair is going to be having a conversation tomorrow at 4 p.m. about diversity and inclusion. We know that the fair has received some complaints about flying the pride flag at the fair. And so
we lost you.
While there is not a staff report, it is highly likely that that will be a topic of discussion during that item tomorrow at 4 p.m. It's up to be there with as many of my friends as possible to speak in favor of continuing to demonstrate. It says my internet connection is unstable, so hopefully you can hear me. Continue to demonstrate our allyship and our support of recognizing people and equality. So.
Okay, and then I have suggested if anyone wants to sign on in a letter that I know Councilmember Reynolds and I talked about that, but if you all want to sign on in a letter, please just let probably Hadassah or Mr. Carr or Ms. Reyes know, and they're working on a letter.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and anyone else wishing to speak? Councilmember Chavez.
My apologies. That was an old hand.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, seeing no one, we're out early tonight. It's a record 8:37 p.m. Yay. Okay, well, thank you all. And thank you to our city leadership team and our entire city council and our city team for all your hard work. Enjoy the evening. And for those who are going to be watching, enjoy the inauguration tomorrow. It'll be a unique one for sure. But we will see you back here on February 2nd. Is that right?
Here we have the council goal setting that
Right.
also on Friday, January 29th as well.
That's right. Thank you. And then we'll be getting a little bit more update on our current finances, I hear, at that time as well. So thank you all and good night.